Greetings, Dr. Sanchez and fellow classmates of Leadership and Team Development. I am Eric Turner, and today my presentation will address the effectiveness of adaptive leadership to prepare our troops for military combat. My duty title is actually Master Sergeant Eric Turner, and I have 25 years of active military service in the United States Air Force. My military leadership history consists of 2010 to 2012 Aircraft Section Chief, where I managed 150 crew chiefs. 2012 to 2017 Maintenance Production Superintendent, where I managed 120 mechanics, and I also managed all shift maintenance activities on the flight line. 2017 to present, I'm currently a Programs and Support Flight Chief, where I currently manage 105 personnel across 30 duty titles. Slight overview of what today's presentation consists of. You're going to see mission statement, oath of enlistment, concerns, definitions, studies, doctrine, adapting to change, technology, insightful military quotes, future leaders, young leaders, managing, Turner's experience, and then a conclusion. The military's mission statement is: the mission of the Department of Defense is to provide military forces needed to deter war and to protect the security of our country. The department's headquarters is at the Pentagon. Main takeaway here is this is pretty much the vision of the United States military, but the big takeaway is the deterrence of war. If we can deter war, then eliminate the possibility of having to go to war. If we need to protect our country, it will be done so by relying on our enlisted force through the oath of enlistment. Every enlisted personnel will take the oath of enlistment, and it goes like this: I, and they state their name, do solemnly swear, or they can affirm, that they will support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic, that they will bear true faith and allegiance to the same, and that they will obey the orders of the President of the United States and the orders of the officers appointed over them, according to regulations and the Uniform Code of Military Justice. So help them God. These are simple instructions on how leaders can execute their followers. The oath breaks down how followers should be utilized. Leaders should lead in reference to this oath. Some concerns pulled from the oath on how to truly execute their followers. Our troops must be led to defend the Constitution, defend our nation against all enemies, carry out the President's orders. Bottom line, their job is to keep us free. Definition of adaptive leadership. Adaptive leadership is how leaders encourage followers to adapt to challenges, changes, and how to face and deal with problems. Army leadership defines adaptability as ability to recognize changes in the environment, identify critical elements of a new situation, and to answer to changes according to meet new requirements. Top Army leaders must be flexible and adaptive. Sharp and Creviston defined Army leadership. However, all other branches of the military will be no different. Anything mentioned in this presentation that is branch-oriented will apply to all branches. All branches of the military work the same as far as leadership. Leadership studies. Early leadership research was focused on the traits or qualities of leaders. Adaptability was observed to be connected with successful leadership in organizations. Team leaders at the top, middle, and lower levels study the ever-changing business scenario. Continue to adapt to the team vision and activities. Matching the team vision and the vision of the corporation helps organizations to adapt faster to their strategic business environment. Traditional leadership theories provide a rich source of guidance in understanding the constituent components of leadership behavior. Adaptations are required to match today's transformed work environment. Army doctrine in regards to leadership has been exercised and proven for over 100 years. A century worth of Army doctrine. The doctrine explains mission command and philosophy and warfighting function. Commanders utilize leadership philosophy to empower adaptive leaders to conduct war operations. Obtain operational adaptability by building adaptive teams that can anticipate and manage transitions. Leaders are the ones who take followers into combat. Teams are essential because single individuals do not go to war. Armed forces deploy as one. We are a group of teams to make one big team to accomplish our mission. Army Captain Dusty Eggleston explained the criticality of adaptive leadership and how he has seen the Army accelerate the development of their soldiers to be successful under conditions of complexity. In addition to complex situations, most military leaders thrive on pressure. High pressure and stressful situations create opportunities to lead efficiently. Captain Eggleston also added that military leaders' environment is constantly changing. Army must apply adaptive leadership to address those changes. The goal of professional military education system is to provide vibrant, insightful leaders to operational units. Army looks to grow their future leaders who are aligned with the Army mission. Army needs to train and educate their soldiers and junior officers using the principles of adaptive leadership. All branches have professional military education. As mentioned in the previous slide, principles of adaptive leadership. Navigating business environments, leading with empathy, learning through self-correction and reflection, create win-win solutions. Leading with empathy just means consider feelings of others. Learning through self-correction and reflection, this just means to understand where you have room to improve. Here is some more of Captain Eggleston's. Here is more input on Captain Eggleston's topic of adapting to change. Educating a leader is developing the mental, moral, and social capabilities and provide knowledge for a particular purpose. Educate leaders to think adaptively so they can lead forces into combat. We cannot risk putting vital leaders into combat without the abilities to adapt and lead in a war environment. Change is inevitable. Change is also constant. These items induce change. Internet, diversity, the environment, economy, all of these induce change. You have seen from previous slides, and you'll see in future slides, we hit just about every one of these topics. We need to adapt to help our followers cope with all these changes. Overcoming technology. The innovative era has an obstacle where young leaders have the upper hand to adapt to technologies. Many older leaders lack the abilities to apply technologies quickly enough, nor do they wish to utilize the technologies for benefit. Our enemies are harnessing the technology and using it against us. Modern battlefield leaders need to adapt to the advancement of technologies. Technologies are continuously advancing, so leaders need to adapt and remain constant with that change to be effective in the current combat zone. Here's a couple of military insightful quotes with adaptive leadership focus. We will never predict with any accuracy what the future holds. After more than 9 years of conflict, the development of adaptive leaders who are comfortable operating in ambiguity and complexity will increasingly be our competitive advantage against future threats to our nation. This quote was from General Martin E. Dempsey, Chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Quote number 2. For the past decade, our military has proven itself in what I consider to be the most difficult conditions this nation has ever faced. Our leaders at every level have displayed unparalleled ingenuity, flexibility, and adaptability. This was General Raymond T. Odierno, Army Chief of Staff. Military leadership. Leadership is a science to lead people towards a common goal. Whether peace or war, victory or defeat, progress or regression, leaders' role remains crucial. Leadership studies can be traced back to the 500 BC, and even today it is one of the most researched but not much understood field. Studies on performance of armies in the battlefield provide a fertile ground to judge effectiveness of their leaders. We must continue to evaluate and research the military leader. This is how we adapt to any changes. Military leadership. In military life, leadership inhabits a special place with regards to effectiveness in operations. It concerns with the conception of encouragement among members to make them work freely and accomplish ascribed goals. Adaptive leaders should seek to shape roles of subordinates, change appropriately as situations change, motivate followers to help them tackle difficult issues. They will accept risk along with change, will adjust based on self-assessments, and they will risk their status quo of being in charge. Sharp and Creviston provide some more insight on future leaders and being adaptive. Future leaders need to be adaptive. 2. Stay ahead of evolving, changing uncertainties. They need to understand operational environments can be challenging. They need to develop cultural competence awareness subordinates, develop subordinates to think critically and solve problems, broaden their full capabilities of support. By doing all of these, it will help their understanding the purpose of operations, and it will also lead to success in the current and future fights. In one of Sharp and Creviston's studies, the Army was utilizing an Army training concept, ATC 2020. Commanders can build future leaders virtually with this concept. It is unscripted, free play, multi-role player exercises. It replicates complexity and uncertainty from modern battlefields. It is live and virtual training. It will gain confidence and functional expertise. This is only virtual, but studies show it is effective. This will still require real activity in the field where leaders can gain true leadership. To adapt and motivate the follower, the leader must clarify goals and performance expectations. They must know what is expected of them. Administer important feedback. Provide them feedback in reference to the expectations you have set for them. Promote intrinsic behaviors. This just means promote natural behaviors. Facilitate continuous learning and adaptive capacity. Be proactive and seek opportunities in times of change. Optimism links to adaptive stance. Think positive. Any negativity will be felt by your followers. Mold young leaders. Low seniority employees lack work experience. New employees are just simply very inexperienced. Leaders must provide structured leadership. Once again, new or young leaders require that structure. Specify work processes and facilitate employees' adaptation to the company. Encourage employees to adapt to companies' policies and procedures. All of these will help mold that young leader. Managing is different than leading. Leaders influence while managers direct. Leaders are concerned with what matters and why. Managers are concerned with how. Leaders influence by inspiring, while managers are basically the command and control. Managing is important to leading because managers provide the roadmap. Even leaders need direction or a roadmap as to how the company wants to conduct business and get to a specific goal. How managing applies to combat. Managers carry the vision. Managers also know how to accomplish the vision through direction. Even leaders need direction. Adaptive management is as critical as leadership. Adaptive management. An adaptive approach is becoming essential to living in a very complex world. Adapt to the followers. Some can learn visually in the classroom, some need real-world hands-on. Focuses on clear management decisions, is measurable for performance evaluation at field combat level, is most successful in organizations focused on learning. It can also discover ways to attain numerous competing objectives in light of uncertainty. Learning is the forefront to adapt. The unknown can be overwhelming. Be innovative. I have always been told to think outside the box. Preparing our troops is solely about preparing the leader to adapt. Well-trained junior leaders are extremely important in battle. Inadequately trained junior leaders was proven in Vietnam. World Wars I and World Wars II were much more effective due to more focus on leader selection and training. Here is some of my personal experience as I've been leading military troops. Encourage followers to adapt to challenges and changes that they face. Every person faces different challenges and changes. What works for one person may not work for another. Get to know your followers. This will allow you to put adaptations in place to help each one of them succeed towards the goal. By getting to know your followers, try and understand what they enjoy. Try and understand what motivates them. Also, try and understand what personal challenges that they face. They may need help with those challenges in general. Tailor or adapt the way you lead to make each follower more effective. Same thing we just covered for individuals also apply as teams. Knowing your followers will help in selecting team members. Selecting the best individuals for teams increases the odds of effectiveness. Leaders will know their team members. They will know who to select for the team and why, out of their knowledge, their experience, or just what they bring to the table. Leaders will know how to adapt and make teams most effective. Maximizing effectiveness is the driving force for combat. Here's a slight overview of what we discussed today. Went over the military's mission statement, the oath of enlistment when individuals enlist into any branch of the military, some concerns, definitions, studies, covered the Army doctrine, adapting to change, technology, insightful quotes from military leaders, future leaders, young leaders, managing and how it differs from leading, but equally as important, and then Turner's experience. In closing, the military has a giant task of defending our freedoms and our Constitution. Our current and future leaders need to adapt the way they lead. Those leaders are required to take troops into battle. Leaders must help their followers execute effectively in regards to changes and challenges. Our military must take the most effective troops into combat. This can only be accomplished by selecting and shaping the military leaders to succeed in combat. Preparing our troops for military combat is solely in the hands of the adaptive leader. This quote sticks with me from the time it was said. George W. Bush had the best quote after the Twin Towers attack on 9/11. He said, "We will not waver, we will not tire, we will not falter, and we will not fail." This quote is upheld through adaptive leadership. Dr. Sanchez and fellow classmates, I have enjoyed being in class with each one of you. Dr. Sanchez, thanks for your guidance, pushing us to give our very best and to be effective leaders. My name is Eric Turner, and I appreciate your time. Thank you. Have a great day.